I reminded you that you are perfect, would you argue me down or step into your perfection? Welcome to Perfect Mode, where there are no excuses, no expectations, and we explore the world without limitations. I'm Jay Clay, rapper and spiritual teacher, with my co-host Troy Washington, your friendly neighborhood realtor. Let's be real, so let's be perfect. Perfect! Everything, anything, plenty perfect. Everything, anything, plenty perfect mode. Everything, anything, plenty perfect mode. Everything, anything, plenty perfect mode. Perfect mode, perfect mode, perfect mode, perfect mode, perfect mode, perfect mode, perfect mode. Everything, anything, plenty perfect mode. Perfect mode, everything, anything, plenty perfect mode.
Perfect.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Perfect Mode. And first off, let me start by telling you that we love y'all. We're grateful for the opportunity to be anywhere sharing our thoughts, hopefully, and helping you realize that you are perfect. And the reason why I can say that unapologetically is because I know that you are one of one, numero uno. You cannot be replicated, duplicated. And the only reason, Jay Clay, the only reason they would think that they're not perfect, if they're looking at this person on the side of them saying, guess what? I'm not you, but guess what? You are you. And that's all you need. And of course, it's yours truly, Troy Washington, your friendly neighborhood realtor. And I have my boy Jay Clay, spiritual rapper and teacher. And we about to jump on here and talk about stop hustling for approval. You're already perfect. You're already perfect. What up, Jay?
What up? Happy day. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Man, it feels good to be doing this and to be talking about this. I know it's actually this topic is the basis of our show, but we haven't really talked about it in a long time. And I felt it was the perfect time to refresh us into this. But real quick, I want to say we have a calendar now so that if you want to see the upcoming topics so that you never miss an episode again, it's in the description. You can actually subscribe to that calendar. And yeah,
subscribe to the calendar, y'all, so y'all know when we coming on. If we do something extra, we're gonna put everything on the calendar. But y'all check out the calendar, holler at us, look at us, jump on, be a part of the show, all of that, because we need your perfection too. Go.
Yeah. So I got a question for you just to start off. Why do we seek approval? Like, why do people even seek approval? What are your thoughts on it?
I honestly think that it starts early. You know what I mean? From the time that you're a baby and everything you do, you're literally, you have somebody watching you 100% of the time. You get what I'm saying? And so when you start your life out where everybody's watching you 100% of the time and being reactionary based off of things you do, I think that's part of the reason why we have that first initial sense of, look, mama, look what I did. Is that good? You know what's funny about it is there have been plenty times, even now with me having kids, Brody will say something to me, right? Or he'll say something out loud and then he'll say, Dad, is that funny or is that not funny? And it's because he doesn't know based off of what he's been taught up until this point, whether something is good or not. But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, this is an interesting thing because I'm trying to think back to when I was little. Like, at what point did I start seeking approval? You know what I mean? Like, is it because we get grades and stuff? I still remember my first test in first grade. It meant nothing. It meant nothing at all to me. I just was like, "What is this?" And I got a score, and I was mad because of the question I got wrong because I felt it was a trick question. She asked us to spell "for," and I put "for," but the vocabulary word was "four," and I was like, "You didn't say that. You just said 4." But anyway, But tests, like being approval, like through the written grade, I didn't care anything about it. But then at some point it started to matter. And I don't know if that also influenced me with other people too. Like, am I accepted here? You know what I mean?
So number one, from your standpoint to, using Brody and them as an example, I like to think that the caring starts to happen, or the looking for approval starts to happen when the automatic approval stops being given. And you get what I'm saying? So just to kind of use Brody as the example, when he said whatever this was that day, we didn't respond. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so you got to imagine the whole beginning of our life. We're not seeking approval, but approval is always there. It's
Man.
always a part of our makeup. Even from the time when you first learned how to count or you talk, like the first time Brody said something, he said Google. And we were like, oh, Google, he said Google. And there's such an amount of joy and celebration that comes along with it. So even in that moment, after the first time he says it, it's not as impactful anymore. He still says Google again, Google. Because I want to see them go crazy. Google. And then eventually he stops, he says Google, and we don't even respond anymore because it's just something that we know he knows how to do. And I think that longing for that our entire life, because that's the way that we've been built up from the time we were kids, is kind of part of the reason.
Man, that's deep because like a lot of people have experienced that where it's just, you walking, you said this, you told a joke, you coughed or sneeze. You know what I mean? Like it's so many milestones that are celebrated by others, and then one day it just stops, like just like that. And then like now, just you see people on social media doing more and more extreme things to get followers, to get approval. Because the same things didn't work anymore, and now they're really seeking that approval, and it almost makes me wonder, like, because not every child gets that, but I wonder how that affects children that don't get it. Like, are they better off? Are they not better off? You know what I mean? Like, it's so much to think about in that.
The funniest thing about your example using the people online going to be, we just gonna say extreme, but we just don't know if they're exploring. But you know what I mean? Like them pushing the envelope further and further down the road, trying to get someone else to see something new. The funniest part about it is there's always somebody that haven't seen you do it before. And it's always the seeking of approval of people that are around you. And again, I don't want to make this whole a Bible conversation, but it's similar to Jesus leaving home to perform his miracles, but being at home, and people are just so accustomed to it. And who's to say that he didn't go in order to feel that exact same thing that we're talking about? That sense of, again, I don't need to be approved by nobody, but it still feels good to feel acknowledged whenever you do something. Then I think about our music and simply us making a song and then listening to it over and over again, and even us feeling a certain way about it because it's not new anymore. And now we are seeking approval from ourselves from something that we can't get, so we just go to something different. But go ahead, Jay.
Man, dropping them gems. That's true. Like, yeah, I'm victim to that, where I have a song, I know this song go hard, and so I play it out to myself. Like I listen to it 1,000 times, and then it's like, dang, it's just all right now. Let me go see what somebody else say. Maybe they feel how I once felt before, and I can use that energy to propel me further with pushing this song. And even on the other side of that, this has me thinking of times I may not give others approval for just certain things. Like it doesn't hurt to just give someone approval. You know what I mean? Like it's not like I'm going out of my way to say, man, that's awesome. That's dope. Good job. You know what I mean? But sometimes we withhold it and not even realizing it does feel good to get that approval. But we shouldn't necessarily be dependent on it. But man, like that, being dependent on it without knowing could kind of set you up on a path where you're becoming a people pleaser almost.
And I think that's a part of it. Like we end up becoming addicted to it. And again, it's not everybody. Some people are able to say, you know what, I would like the acknowledgement, I would like the approval, but you know what, I'm just going to keep moving anyway. But there are some of us that become addicted to it, where we crave it. And again, I want to break it up into parts, because it's not even, you can be addicted to something in a specific aspect with a specific person, but not with other aspects with that same person. So it's like whenever I make a song, I have to hear J. Clay say, bro, you rigged that mug. I just got to hear that mug, right? But it might be something else that I'm doing when it comes to me being, going to substitute at school. Like I can mention it to you, but I don't really need to hear anything in order for me to feel fulfilled in a sense, right? And so I think that a lot of times we find ourselves being addicted to that feeling, but it's also for specific things. But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, for specific things and specific people.
People,
Yeah,
real talk.
because I have heard a lot of people say certain things like, I never had this type of relationship that supported me in this way, but they're not realizing they have that in other titles, I should say. Maybe not the same title as other people. Like for an example, like, people might bring up parents or siblings, like family supporting them, but their friends might support them, and they're kind of disregarding that because a lot of people have family that support them. And even interesting to that, like, I don't know, for whatever reason, like with sports and games and stuff, I was the kid that, I don't know, like, you didn't have to be there to watch me. I just wanted to play and have fun. But I know kids that was like, man, if my parents were there, like, it would have been a whole different thing. I would have loved for them to just show up. And maybe I just took it for granted too, because they did show up. So it's an interesting dynamic when you think about it all.
No, I like all of it. I actually love the conversation because I don't know if you had another point on this, but I just wanted to kind of touch on the fact that, to just based off what you were saying, like, number one, you have to sometimes take a second to acknowledge. Again, we're talking about hustling for approval, but you have to acknowledge that sometimes the acknowledgement you're looking for, it's already there, but you're just overlooking it, or you minimize where it's coming from so it doesn't have what you would like to be the same impact on you. That's number one. But the second part to this is, like, the first line of approval is you approving yourself. So, that's the reason why I love this topic, because it says stop hustling for approval, because it doesn't take anything for you. It's not a hustle for you to approve yourself. And because you have not approved yourself, and that's fine, because sometimes we have to figure out a way to get to what we're trying to get to, you start to go out and seek approval from other places. And again, disregarding all the approvals that you may have already had because you've minimized the meaning of them. But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. You minimize it to yourself. Like, you're giving someone else this power to say, okay, you can make or break me right now. I'm whatever you say is going to affect me. And it shouldn't be that way, because you're as credible as they are. Your voice matters, even if it's your own voice to yourself. And funny, like, just how I'm how I've done something like this similar. So I've been talking to you because I'm working on a new album, a third album. The second one hasn't even come out yet. And because the third one is just so new, and it's just like, man, I can't wait to that like, I'm almost diminishing the second album, even though I know how hard this second album go, and I can't wait for people to hear it. It's just funny just how, like, you just get caught up in your mind in the next thing and a new thing, and you just disregard so much about yourself that's apparent, that's there, and that's true.
And again, I would say that this is a behavior that comes from or stems from when we were little kids. And again, this is only me talking out of my head because I'm substituting now. So I'm around a lot of kids. And the funniest thing is, like, I have people do this all day. I have a kid tell me, hey, Mr. Washington, such and such said this about me, or they did this to me, right? And then I would always come back to them and tell them, it don't matter. Like, I'm trying to coach them. And I've literally asked the kid this past week, I was like, does it matter what they say? And they said to me, yes, right? And I was like, well, why does it matter what they say? If they said it, can you stop? I mean, do you have to stop doing what you're doing now? Are you in trouble with me? Is something going to happen at home? So I'm rolling this out to them so that they can see that their world is not affected by anything that anybody says or does, right?
Yeah.
But again, I said that to say that you see that from the time we're young, we start to create these habits where we're seeking and also telling ourselves at the time that this affects me, even when there's tons of proof that it doesn't. But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. And it's almost too, like, in what regard we hold the other person. You know what I mean? Like, I can remember in school, like, I might say this person is cool. So whatever they say to me would probably have more weight than somebody I might say is uncool. But again, I'm the one that's divvying out these meanings and not even realizing that. So it's like, I'm giving you this meaning to make you higher than I am. And then in that, I'm actually lessening myself so that my word isn't as valid as your word. Or I'm also placing myself above others in the opposite, where it's like what I say goes. I'm disregarding everything you say right now. Like it means nothing, and that's setting an unfair precedent for yourself because you won't believe anything you say at this point.
So what's funny about this is, so number one, I give you the example of the kids and how they will verbalize, this is how I feel because of somebody else. And then I'm going to tell you there's even in this same setting, there's a teacher that I spoke to this week, and she tells me this long story about, a situation in their life, what happened and how they felt about it. And then they stop in a moment, first time meeting me, and says, well, you're a man, I want to get your perspective. And again, in this moment, I realized that this person has already made up their mind. They're already content with the decision that they've made. But now they're saying, let me minimize where I am, see what this person has to say, if they're either going to validate or help me change my mind. Yeah. And it's funny because I can see it sitting from my seat, just walking into it where it was going. Now, kind of just to come back a little bit, there have been plenty of times where myself or I've been dealing with somebody in the past where I have already made up my mind, but I've minimized the way that I felt about my own approval, and I reached out to somebody. And this is what's crazy about it. There have been times where I reached out to somebody and they said something that I did not already agree with, and there's another internal turmoil that happens because now I want to argue with them, but that's only because the approval that was already made has not been accepted. And now I'm torn between the thought processes. But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I love that. The moral of that story is trust yourself. If you've decided on something, stick to it. Just see it through. So it sounds like the main thing is that stemming from it is we're not essentially accepting our own perfections. We are not accepting that we know more than we already know. And I kind of want to talk about that. And I want to start by saying, first off, if someone believes in God, there's no way you cannot believe in your own perfection. And let me explain. Like, God is a perfect creator, is he not? So that means all of his creations are perfect. And there's nothing more powerful than him that can imperfect his perfections. Because if they could, or if you could, you would be more powerful than God. And if you could, let's just say you could be more powerful than God, then why wouldn't you just make yourself perfect? You know what I mean? So it's one of those things. But I also want to explain this from the viewpoint of someone who might not believe in God, and to say, okay, well, how can I be perfect? I don't believe in God, so how can I be perfect? And it's almost like, how can you not? How would you even know if you're not? Because you only know things from the viewpoint of yourself. Like, you don't know what it's like to live as another person, and so you're only seeing what they show you, or just what you want to see about them, and it's not enough information to invalidate yourself. But go ahead.
So, man, I have so much to say about this, bro. So you're gonna have to chop me if whatever reason I talk about. So, but again, and I'm thinking about your explanation of God being perfect. He cannot make a mistake, right? And I'm one person that wholeheartedly agrees with this. Even to the point where that's where the line between what's good and what's bad has always been blurred to me, because I understand in my own personal opinion that everything has to happen. Like everything has to happen. You know what I'm saying? And so again, I just use the Bible as the example. And whenever I read the Bible for the first time, the thing that stood out to me the most of everything outside of my favorite little quotes here and there is Pharaoh. And right. And Pharaoh, when he sent Aaron and Moses there, let my people go. And Pharaoh was like, nah, I ain't letting your people go. Right? You know what I'm saying? Then he did what he did. Then he asked him again, let my people go. And he was like, nah, I ain't letting your people go. So third time or fourth time, he like, let my people go. And Pharaoh was like, you know what? I don't want to mess with this person no more. Like, I can't mess with them because they too real. And this was the key. This phrase, God hardened his heart to make him say no. He hardened his heart. And so what that tells me is, and again, if you read the reason why he hardened his heart, the point that he was trying to make, I get it all, right? But that's the way that I think about life. And that's also part of the reason why, number one, I don't necessarily seek to give anybody approval, though I will big up anybody that's looking for it, because I understand that sometimes people need guidance in order to see what they're already looking at. I don't want to be a detractor from it. But the reality of that mug is, bro, everybody, whether you're a villain or a good guy, based off of your own description, has to be the star of the movie, because the point has to be made. And I think a big part of this is realizing how we facilitate that which we believe is the bad part of our life, right? Why did I put this here? Why am I so perturbed by it? Which is one of the reasons why I love the fact that you say anytime there's opposition in front of me, I literally sit back and say, why is this bothering me? Because we're trying to figure out the pathway. But again, that allows for you to give yourself the approval that you need to be at peace. But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, and even from the story you shared and everything that you shared too, it's like it's a reminder that it's about the journey. Like this physical experience is almost like we are here to experience the inner workings of manifestation, because just like really imagine everything you want, you just get it at the snap of your finger. It's fun, but you could get bored easily. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't be surprised. It's so many things you wouldn't be able to experience. It's so many things you wouldn't be able to understand either, because you're like, why can't they just do what I do? Why, and you won't be able to help them or reach them from a certain place. So it's a good reminder that it is about the journey. Like every time we decide on something for ourselves, we're saying this is a journey that I want to take for myself. And I think that's key too about this. You're already perfect, is to make sure any journey you take, anything you're deciding for yourself, not because someone else decides for you, because that's an easy way to just hate it. Just to hate your experience is doing something for the sake of someone else, not for yourself. And shout out to Loretta. She said, there is a balance to maintain. It's important to trust our own intuition and wisdom, and also maintain an openness that allows feedback from others, because when we stop being students, we stop growing. Yeah.
And I kind of want to add to what you're saying, and shouts out to Loretta as well. I appreciate you joining us today, because without you, girl, we wouldn't be here. So we definitely appreciate you and recognize your perfection. But I want to add to this, like, and again, I'm emphasizing being a star in your role, or being a star in your movie, because it's your movie. And funny enough, we have this kid that plays basketball with TJ and them, and this is to your point that it would be crazy at the snap of a finger how you can have anything that you want. And I like to think that at a snap of a finger, as far as we can believe, we still have that. You know what I'm saying? I just like to think that. And the best example that I can give, there's a kid that I'm not gonna say his name, but I'm pretty sure you want to find him and you can figure it out. He plays basketball with TJ, and I'm gonna give you some crazy stuff. Like, he's 6'9". I'll say he's 6'9". He's in 6th grade. He ranked in the nation as one of the best kids in the nation right now. And I'm at the school, so I don't want to act like work is hard at schools, right? A lot of times the kids, all they have to do is just turn in their work, right? Just get it in. Teachers are pretty much work with them. But in some cases, a lot of kids just don't do it. Me being in the school, I see a lot of kids that don't do it. Yeah. But funny is, using this 6'9" kid as the example, you can imagine with a 6'9" kid walking around the school, how people will respond to him, or how everybody around him will act. And I'm using him only because this is an exaggerated idea, right? You don't see 6'7" every day, right? But you can just imagine that he probably wants to play sports, right? He probably wants to play basketball. And the reality of it is, everybody in his entire world, aside from him just appearing on the NBA basketball court, everybody in his entire world is like, you did your work, you did this. It like the whole world is just revolving around him. And the reality of it is, the reason why I use such a this example is because it's easy to see it when your own self can recognize this is different. Now, part of this is we don't recognize how different or how special we are or how perfect we are. And so because of that, I'm telling you, this kid is snapping his finger and he don't even realize he's snapping his finger because he's the outlier, right? But the thing is, for what we're doing in our life, we're snapping the finger. And the reality of it is, everybody around us, everything around us is working in our favor.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is, we fail to recognize it. Now, using this kid as the example, he doesn't recognize it either. Now, it makes more sense because he's a kid and he hasn't developed enough in his mind to process it the way that I'm processing it now. But just seeing him and the world move the way it's moving, you can see how it's all being put in place. Now, it makes me look at myself and say, okay, well, look, Troy, what is it that you have? Who is it that you have around you? Why is it that Jay Clay has been your friend for 20 plus years? How? And the reality of it is, there are certain things that I know that I needed that I snapped and they just have always been there.
Yeah.
And again, I can minimize it or you can minimize it as much as you want to. But the reality of it is, it's already working in your favor. But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for giving me back there, because that is true. And especially as a kid, I do, when I look at my life as a kid in my life now, there were so many snap your finger moments that it was crazy. And we do all have that, and we won't recognize it because in some instances we change course, and it's like everything might not change course as fast as we change course, but it is going to get there. And that's why, again, it's important that the more you align your life with what you want and how you want it, the more aligned everything can get with it. Everyone can get it. They like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna holler at Troy because I know Troy gonna be on XYZ. So if I want to holler at Troy, I need to be on XYZ.
Yeah, XYZ.
Right. And it's when we flip flop. It's when we say, okay, I'm gonna do this, now I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that, which is still all right. You know, I don't want to say that because I've flip flopped on many things in trying to calibrate what I want my life to be like. But just know, like, you know, sometimes it may take a while for the rest of the world to catch up to you, but it will be there. You will get to that point where you will continue to snap your fingers and you can experience all that you want. Go ahead.
Now, funny, and again, you're right. Eventually, the world will catch up, and I think that the time frame is depending on how much you believe in your star in your movie. Like you have to, like, it's like watching a movie. Sometimes you look at them and you be like, man, they played that role. I got to go watch the next movie. And then sometimes you look and be like, it was all right because that person wasn't a star. But depending on how much of the star of your movie you are, things will change at that pace. Now, the funniest thing, though, Jay, is using a real life situation as an example. I got a 6-year-old, for anybody that doesn't know, his name is Brody Washington. Little dude is very dynamic, very smart, and everything. Anytime he just did it right before, you know, we started the show. Chardonnay was going to go get them something to eat. And she was like, what y'all want to eat? And she said, do y'all want Taco Bell? Let's get some tacos. And he said, I don't like Taco Bell no more. Now, I say this to say that anytime he doesn't want anything, he'll literally say he doesn't want it anymore. And aside from the fact that, now, again, when this happens, there is a barrier that gets built, right? And as a parent, I'm like, bro, you ain't finna just punk me and make me just take you wherever you want to go. We're not going to do that, right? But what'll happen is now, whether I take him now to something different or not, let's say, for instance, I take him to Taco Bell now, doesn't matter if he eat Taco Bell now for the rest of the time that every time I think about something, I'm going to think he don't really like Taco Bell like that. And so it's going to sway my movements going forward. It's just going to happen. And again, as a parent saying, now you're going to eat what I tell you to eat, like he might do it that time, but eventually we will fold. And it makes me think back about when I was a kid and how I demanded some things as well. I demanded stuff that my mama couldn't afford. I want this thing. And she's like, we can't get that mug. And then she'll tell me no. And then eventually, whether it was this year, the next year, or the next year, I eventually end up seeing it. And it might not have been the way that I thought. Funny enough, when I was in 7th grade, bro, all I wanted was some Jabot pens. All I wanted was Jabot. Like, I gotta have some Jabots. I gotta have them. And I told my grandmama, and she told me, "No, them was $60 jeans. You crazy? It's not happening." And then my 8th grade year, I got some Jabots. They was almost flooding, but I got them, right? Yeah. And the thing was, she told me before I wasn't getting them, right? But I was so happy because the reality of it is just like Brody saying, I don't eat Taco Bell no more. And I'm thinking to myself, dog, you do eat Taco Bell. I still don't have the desire to take him to Taco Bell. But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. And man, I love that because as you're saying this, I was thinking about what things have I talked about or said to others that I really didn't care about, and why would I waste that vocal energy on stuff I didn't care about when I can talk about what I do want, or what I don't want anymore. But instead of just say, hey, you watched the news the other day, or did you hear what this celebrity said about this? Like that, I don't want my world to be more made up of certain things. Why not talk about only what I want my world to be about? Because it makes it easier for those that are around you that are supposed to be there, that you want around you, to work with you or to just be in the space with you. It's like this, it's a conversation. It's a dance. It's a part. Like you said, we're all playing our part, and you get to deliver the script. You get to deliver where you're headed, the arc of the character and all of this. And man, I love all of that. And I'm you know me, I'm particular about my speech. Like I'm always watching what I say, but now I want to take that to another level because I haven't even considered just saying idle things that I might not think matter, but it's all in there. Like even with social media, we talk about this all the time. If you interact with a video, you comment on it, you like it, their algorithm says, "Oh, show them more videos like this," and then you get caught up. Like, man, like, why is this all on my page? Do I like this? Have I said that I did? And at some point, you probably did.
And so I'm a cosign. The algorithm always has it right. That's the reason why you can be hooked into something, because you're expressing, like you said, you're giving it the approval. And to your point, you don't need any outside sources in order to validate what you're thinking. It's just kind of how that might go. And the funniest thing, I thought about this as you were talking. I couldn't even imagine Brody saying, so when we saying, hey, we're going to get Taco Bell or we're going to get, churches, and him saying, well, Dad, do I like Taco Bell anymore? He's not going to say that. He's not going like, you're not going to ask you're going to either say you do or you don't. But the reality of it is he's not seeking approval from me. He wasn't. He was literally telling me, this is what it is today, and get with it. And the reality, what happened is he ended up getting something different. Because you know what we don't want to do? We don't want to fight with anyone in their life, right? We don't want to fight with him about eating tacos, because that's what's going to happen for the next hour until we're at an impasse and nothing happens, right? And so we know he got to eat, so we might as well, you know what? This is not my kid running over me. This is my kid saying, I know what I want.
So,
and I'll go ahead.
Well, no. So question, like, how can we, let's say we are in a space where we are seeking approval for certain things, or even from certain people, those people that are closest to us. Like, how can we stop hustling for approval? Like, are there steps we can take? Are there certain behaviors we can practice? Or is it just as simple as just do it?
No, I think that the steps that you take, and the only reason I'm saying this is because I did it myself.
Yeah.
I think the steps that you have to take are to, when you actually seek approval, approve yourself. Like, and it has to be a conscious thought. And again, the reason why I know this is because whenever I write a song now, and I've told you this, when I finish with it, I could be the happiest person in the world. I can be like, ooh, this go hard. Now, again, when I'm saying this, there's a caveat to it, right? It's an unsaid, unspoken caveat that's going on in my body. And then the next thing that happens once I've been elated and happy myself, I'll be like, I literally think to myself, man, J. Clay and Chardonnay gonna say this thing go hard. That's what I be saying. And again, why that even matters is a question for myself, right?
Yeah.
Again, I know why it matters, but to the extent that I give it the power, it doesn't. Of course, I want my best friend and my wife to like my music. Of course I do, right? Like, I could be very happy about something and y'all could come and say it's not tight, and I can be like, dang, and then have questions about what I've done or the way that I've done it to make me change. But the thing that I had to start doing was, when I was excited, and then I came down off my excitement and said, man, Chardonnay and J. Clay gonna think this go hard. I stopped myself and said, no, this go hard.
Yeah.
This goes hard. And remember how you were just a second ago. But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. So, okay. So with that, like, how do I say this? When there have been times where I wanted something, right? I said, okay, I'm going to go in this direction. I'm going to go on this journey. And I thought, okay, well, nothing's new under the sun. How have others done it? And then I'll try to emulate them, and then they might do something I don't agree with, or I don't know. It's just not my path. And then I'm discouraged because I went this whole route, and it's like, I don't want to go any further in this route. Like, I'm not happy about it. And so one of the things that I started doing was, instead of seeing how someone else did it, I would just write out how I would do it. And it's a different path, and it's like, oh yeah, this would take me there. Like, I don't have to use their way. And that's not to say you can't be influenced by it, but give yourself the shot first. Come to yourself first. Kind of like similar to what you said, Brody said. First thing he did was declared it. I'm going to declare it, and I'm not going to accept anything less. So you try to give me Taco Bell,
No,
you know you hungry. I ain't eating that. I'm just gonna be hungry. You know what I mean? And it's like, how often do we do that for ourselves? Like, if like we set a goal, and then we're presented with things that are less than, but we're like, let me go ahead and take this too. But it's like, nah, don't accept nothing but your goal. Like declare it and stick to it. Come to yourself first. How would you do it? What's your path to it? And it's a different feeling. It's a different experience.
And I think that again, a part of that, it's all a trick that you play on yourself. And I think that's the biggest part of what we're talking about, is identifying what is it that I'm doing to myself to make me seek approval, right? Like, what am I telling myself in that moment? And again, just going back to my example, after I've already said that it was nice, or I've already said that it's good, I in turn say, well, it's not good unless these people give me the approval. Now, what gives y'all the approval over something that I've created that you have no idea what I'm trying to create or what it's supposed to look like? And again, one of the funniest things that I try to tell my wife all the time is, she's a party planner, if you don't know. And she's like this she's this great creative designer. And she'll look at me and say, so what you think about that? And my thought process is, it's tight. And then she'll ask me, well, is there anything missing? And my response is always, I don't know what you're trying to do. Like, I don't know what the end result is supposed to look like. Yeah. If this is the end result, it's tight. And it's the same thing, when it comes to music. Like, Troy, if you got any feedback to give me, well, I can only give you feedback based off of what I would think it's supposed to sound like. Well, if it's me on this song, I mean, I would sing the chorus, or I would add this, but that might not have been what you were going for. And then the thing that kind of gives me the mindset to recognize that way is because there are plenty of things that have been produced or created or made in life that I did not like. But guess who did? Everybody else. And so when I think about things that way, it's like, I don't have to seek the approval of everybody, because what I'm creating for myself is already for the people that it's for. But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, and man, to that point, like, there's no joy in like performing a song that you don't like. Man, it's like, boy. Like so boy. Like, even with that, I am so particular in the songs I create now. I mean, not just for many reasons, but that's one of the reasons too, because What if it blows up? I don't want to be stuck having to perform this song that is like, this is a downer. I hate, this reminds me of a trauma. This puts me in a bad place. Like that is not going to happen, because then I just wouldn't do the show, which could possibly, lose out on fans and all that other stuff. But just really being aligned and purposeful on everything you create, everything you do, everything you declare, everything you say you want, and not accepting less than that. So I do want to ask the audience as well, those that are watching, do you have you transitioned to that before, like from seeking others' approval to not, or are you stuck in that situation and you're looking for a way out? Like describe it if you can. But go ahead, Troy.
No. I mean, I think that's a good question, because at the end of the day, I think it's an ongoing journey, because you can find your way out of seeking approval in specific realms of your life, but still fall into it in other areas. And again, the craziest part about this to me is the person that we speak to the most in our life, the person that has all the clues to what we're trying to accomplish, the person that actually has either a partial plan or the full plan and knows exactly what it's supposed to look like in the end, will look to somebody else to try to validate something that they cannot even visualize. They have no clue. It's not their dream. It's not something that they've been internalizing for months on end. The thing that I like to think about, dog, is, and again, this is without me knowing the true number, but I would like to say that 90%, and I'm only saying that because I know that some of the things that I facilitated in my life were because of the people that were around me, right? That means I had to have some kind of co-creation in order for it to be done. But I want to say that 90% of the things in my life that I did not seek approval for are the things that I was able to get done. And I think about, like, as an example, me becoming a realtor. Like, I didn't have that discussion with anybody. I decided one day, I didn't know what it was going to look like. I internalized it and I just went and did it. It's the same thing when it comes to making music. Like, I never asked anybody, do you think I should make music? You know what I'm saying? Like, I ran into the people that I ran into. I made my decision. I'd have to ask nobody if I needed to join Fifth Flow. I just did that much. And again, all the things that I was the surest in my life are the things that I have the biggest stories for. Those are the things that I was able to live out. And again, it doesn't mean in those instances there was a lapse in my strength of mind, and I didn't seek approval along the way. And that's why I said it's an ongoing journey that you have to work through. But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, and when you say that, that reminded me of like all the things I've, in a sense, taught myself are the ones that are most helpful to me. And I say taught myself, I still went to certain guides or heard certain teachers speak or certain things, but it was like you said, I didn't seek anyone's approval to want to learn about this. It's like, ooh, I want to learn about this one day. I want to try this out. I want to do this. And yeah, even music. I remember there was a switch where one day I felt I was good. Before then, I was like, nah, I'm just a producer that raps. Like I'm not a real rapper. I said that for years, and then one day it was just like, yeah, I don't know, like you said, I don't need anyone's else approval. I know what goes hard. I know what's right. I know what should just be done. And even looking back, I always did, just like you always did, just like everyone always knows what needs to be done, because as you pointed out, you know what you're trying to do. You have the most knowledge, you have everything already, and we dilute it, man. We give it and we let somebody else stop us. We let somebody else say, like, nah, you shouldn't do that. Don't do that. Or I'll be scared if I was you. Like, you can't say stuff like that, or you can't do stuff like that. And we listen. And what does it get us? Nothing. We stuck.
The funniest thing is, to me, the ultimate example is my way of life today, right? Yeah. And it's funny because I have talks with Bear, which is one of my good friends. You know him. I know you talked with him as well. And most recently we were having a conversation probably a month ago, and I was explaining to him why I do not have the conversation with everybody, why I do not go in and I don't try to promote or push And it goes back to my point that I was making a while ago, is that the things that I know, that the way that I've been able to move in my life, the things that I'm assured of, or I'm not hustling for approval, are the things that I've been able to accomplish, or I know for sure. And again, it's just like if somebody was to come and tell me that there's no God, I don't have a conversation for it, because there's no conversation to be had for me. I don't, and again, there's never a debate. There's never any points that need to be given. It's just that sometimes I'm aware and I know, and I don't need any additional approval. But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, you hit him with that. Oh, okay. Like, hey, there's no guy. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's it.
Again, my guy.
That, hey man, that okay. I tell people all the time, man, it will save you so much heartache, so many conversations, so much unneeded stress. Somebody tells you something, okay. You don't got to debate. You don't got to go back and forth. You don't got to try to prove your point and have a PowerPoint presentation. It's like, this is why I'm telling you, because like you said, like if you know something, you know it. It's yours. You don't have to convince. You can say your piece if they ask, but it doesn't need all of that, because again, you're already perfect. You know these things. So you stop giving away your perfection, or trying to at least.
No, real talk. And so, just kind of bringing this whole thing full circle, I'm gonna read the title again. And I also want to say this before I go into the title. Make sure y'all subscribe to our calendar. It's in the comments or in the description. In the description, I apologize about that. So that way y'all can know everything that's coming with Perfect Mode and everything that we got going on. And also like, share, subscribe to whatever you own, just to show us a little bit of love. But stop hustling for approval. You're already perfect. And, just thinking about again and again, this is something that plagues me, because like I said, there are some areas that I have no choice. Like right now, I'm in a whole new world that I've never been in before. And fortunately enough, it's funny. We talked about snapping our finger and everything being right for us, right? Well, I've never been in a teacher setting where I'm subbing for kids. And, I do seek acknowledgement. I am looking for approval. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm seeking and I'm looking for it. Now, I'm not verbally asking anybody for it. I'm not. But the universe knows what I'm looking for. And fortunately for myself, again, not saying that it's needed, but fortunately for myself, everywhere I go, there's a teacher saying, hey, you know what? You're the best sub I ever had. Hey, you know what? Students are telling me you're the best sub. Hey, we got people all around me, big upping me, so that way I can have what I feel like I need to number one. The most important thing of this is say, you know what? Boom. I am these things. I don't need to hear it anymore. And maybe I didn't have enough, but the reality is I snapped my finger and I needed my world to move in such a way to make it able for me to operate in a space that I feel comfortable in. But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, because like, we always have everything we need. Or I mean, even though we really don't need anything, because we have everything. Yet when approval isn't there, that should signify that we don't need approval. And when it's there, it's one of those things. Like every now and then, I might feel a quick second of just feeling down on myself, like just for a hot second. I don't stay in that long, but then somebody will just reach out from just somewhere far and wide and just say something that has nothing to do with something. It could be something to do with my music, an article, or just, I don't know, just something small. And I'm like, okay, God, I hear the message. I hear what you're trying to tell me right now. Stop being in whatever state I am. Get back to what I'm doing. Go back to what I'm doing. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And I say that to anyone who may feel as they're struggling. Keep your ears open. Keep your eyes open, because God is communicating with you. There are clues that you are on the right path already. And I mean, again, you know it because you know what you love doing. You know it excites you. And when you do it, it adds to that excitement. But in addition to that, there are other signs and things that's like, yep, come on, keep going. We got you.
And I want to say this about that that moment of being down. And it's funny. The only reason I say this is because I had another friend just recently say something very similar. And this is what I encourage everybody to realize. So number one, I'm not saying this to give anybody approval, you, my friend, or myself, because I too myself have felt this way. I'm letting myself know that I don't need anybody else's approval in it, number one. But I will encourage everybody to realize that you are all things. And that means you're all things good and all things that you've deemed to be bad. And the reason why I say this is because I think that it's all necessary, even going through these moments, so that way you will know what they look like. You know, you understanding what something looks like gives you an opinion and an opposite perspective for you to know where you want to go. And so, to Jay's point, I would tell you to listen because it's always out there for you, but also to not be afraid of the dark. And the reason why I say that is because you have it anyway. It's there, and you just choose not to live there, and that's fine. But the reality of it is, it's the reason why you're able to shine so bright. But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, the dark helps you see the light. They work together in perfect harmony. One is not necessarily better than the other. It's just what you choose. And yeah, even like I said, like I've always said though, like at the point of your brightest point where you're surrounded by nothing but light, like all you see is light, and your lowest point where you're surrounded by nothing but dark, they are very similar in that you are akin to everything that's surrounding you. Like you, no matter what, so you are part of your environment, and so that's just to show you that even in the dark, even in the light, there's nothing wrong. Everything is good. I love how you said that we are all things. And in the example that you gave about we're playing a part, we are not only the star, we are the director, we are the writer, we are the producer, and we can produce a life that we really want to live if we allow ourselves to dream, to write it out, to direct it. Like, okay, let me practice this. Let me practice walking like this today. You know what I mean? Like just whatever we want to do, we can do it so that we believe it. And people are like, man, you're good. Action. You know, like faith without action is dead is the saying. Action. If you're acting, you're an actor, you take action, get it.
No, I love it. And I think that's ultimately the answer, to the question about stopping the hustle for approval. Just being actively you, be active in you. Like we have all these things come up in us. And a lot of times we don't act on them because we want to get someone else's opinion or someone else's thoughts, or we want to see something different. But the reality of it is the sooner you move or the sooner you act, the sooner the real realization happens. Because somebody can tell you that a movie sucks and then you can go and watch it and you can love it. And so, I think that, to your point, the action part of this solves everything. And again, even speaking for myself, just make the song or just go do the class or just do it and find out where you lie in that. But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I was laughing because like some movies can be so bad that they're good, and like if you're willing to laugh at your life, like it could change everything. And sometimes we've all walked out of a movie before, like this is terrible. I'm not gonna finish this movie. This is terrible. Like we can do that with our own movie. Like nah, I'm not saying go kill yourself. I'm just saying change the movie, change the script, go write a new script, go do something new. Yeah, because again, life's too long not to enjoy every second of it.
It was funny. I know we at the end, bro, but I had to tell you this. So funny. I love when you say just go write a new script. Not telling nobody to opt themselves, but go write a new script. And the funniest thing is, being around kids a lot, and just making a comparison to grown-ups. A lot of times we feel like as adults, when you get to a certain age, that it's too late to rewrite the script, right? So number one, that's one of those things where we wouldn't do it because we're seeking approval or validation from somebody else to let us know that it's supposed to be. Yeah. But funny enough, I have kids that are the exact same. And the one thing that I try to tell kids even now is it's funny how this has all come together, because the key word here you said was action. I've literally been telling kids, what do you want to do now? Just go do that, mug. Because if you don't want to do it later, you can just change your mind and do something different. But let's stop waiting. And the same rule applies for us. Like, look, it don't matter how old you are, until you're no longer walking the face of the planet, then walk it. You know what I'm saying? And it's just important that we recognize that. But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. And one interesting thing to that, because I like to live in the now. I like to stay in the now and be fluid in the future. And one thing that I didn't consider until recently is like let's say make a 10-year plan. It's like, man, I don't care about the future. I'm here. But if you see yourself in 10 years, you can make the changes now to kind of go in that direction, to walk in that direction. And so I say that too, because sometimes people, they get to an age where they feel, well, 10 years, that's a long time. I don't want to do that. But again, that can affect you now. Like you can be who you want to be in 10 years. You can be that person right now, because it's the same thing as you're just assuming that role. You're learning the lines, you're learning the parts, you're learning how to be that person. And you don't have to wait those 10 years to make that 10-year plan of how you see yourself. You can actually make it now. So just keep that in mind. Like if you want rapid change, learn the lines of how you want to be 10 years from now.
Nah, real talk. And I'll say this before we get up out of here, man. Like, we are grateful for everybody that joins us. Shouts out to Loretta for actually being in and giving some commentary today. And for everybody that listens to us on the back end, you have to understand that this show, we love doing this show. We love giving our ideas, our thoughts, but our perfection is only a partial of what we want it to be based off of the pieces that you bring to the table. So your perfection helps us to be even more perfect than we already are. Your perspective is, key here. And we definitely thank everybody for always being able and available for us to help us grow. And if you actually do like the show, we encourage you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook. Or even to the podcast. You can find us on podcasts, on Apple Music, all the different places. But you ask and you shall receive, and we asking for you to like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, so that way we can keep this thing going. And Jay, I know we're at the end, so you can go ahead and take us up out of here, my brother.
Yeah, and like you said, we're on every Sunday from noon to 1. Next week, we're talking about the art of surrender, how to trust the universe with your next move. So again, appreciate all y'all that's rocking with us. Remember, you're a perfect creation made by a perfect creator. So you might as well accept your perfection and enter perfect mode. Yeah.
If I reminded you that you are perfect, would you argue me down or step into your perfection? Welcome to perfect mode, where there are no excuses, no expectations, and we explore the world without limitations. I'm Jay Clay, rapper, the spiritual teacher, with my co-host Troy Washington, your friendly neighborhood realtor. Let's be real, so let's be perfect. Perfect. Everything